What's up, my design dude and dudettes? This is John, your stay-at-home designer. Thanks for checking it out today. We're going to cover a little bit on some of the neat tools in Inkscape. You've got your brush tool, your Bezier pen, which is probably one of my most used tools, and then there's also the pen tool. So let's just get started. I'll show you these. Now, what's cool about Inkscape, it's a totally free vector graphics program. You can use this across all platforms. So even though I'm using a Mac right now, you can, and I do use this on my Windows machine and also Linux. I have a Linux Mint machine that it's kind of slow, so I don't really use it on that, but you can download this for all platforms, which I'm a fan of. And it's very stable. That's probably my favorite part. So let's get started here. You can see the basically program itself has a ton of features. Don't ever feel too kind of overwhelmed. There's a lot to mess with. It's going to take some time, so just keep at it. I used to be in that same position, and so I know exactly how it felt when I started that. But if you look on the left here, is going to be our tools that are very great with you can see the shapes. We did some previous videos on this. You have your freehand lines, or like I call it a pen, but I guess we can call this a brush tool, and then the Bezier pen as well, which is one of my favorites. I think I'll probably start you off with the Bezier pen. So right now, just to kind of illustrate some stuff, I'm going to create like a shape here. And then what I'm going to do is try and mimic that with like my Bezier pen. So you'll see the original shape here. It's like this blue star. Great. That looks good. I'll even control and scroll in on the mouse wheel to zoom in a little more. Now as I go to the Bezier pen, this will allow you to like match curves, and it's really neat and useful. Since I'm cusping right now, how about I just make a bigger, it's going to cusp to it. Let me turn that off. And if I go here and get rid of my snap to nodes and paths, it'll give me more freedom, so it's not going to snap to it. Sometimes it is useful though. Now as I go here though, I can literally, I'll zoom in, probably add, actually let's match the outline, right? So as I do that, and actually if you hit space on your keyboard and you kind of pan your mouse, you'll be able to move up and down your worksheet there. And you'll notice, okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to click right now, and you'll notice I create one more endpoints, okay? And as I go spacebar again and move around, that looks pretty good. I'll create another endpoint. And, I don't want to take up too much time with how this tool works. I could essentially, cover this whole thing. But I can close this off just like that. And I'll scroll back out, control, and zoom out here. And you'll already see that I've got that shape perfectly matched. And for anyone who plans on doing like some redraws, maybe matching a shape, super useful tool. Bezier pen's my favorite. I'll show you another reason why. Let's say maybe you have like a curve. Ooh, Pac-Man, that's a good one. Maybe you want to match like this curve somewhat. Well, check this out. I go back to my Bezier pen and zoom in. And if I click, say, here as my starting point, I don't want to go too crazy. I guess I could, but I'll start here for now just so you can really see the illustration of it. And I hold down on my mouse click. I can literally play with that arc and angle. And that is by far one of the strongest features. It's what makes, in my eyes, vector art vector. Just the capability to really get these different shapes and sizes and match up. A very useful tool. And if I was to say hit enter, you'll see that created almost the shape, but I can adjust this as needed. I think it's snapping down again. There we go there. Oh, and I need to create a... Well, I don't want to add too much here for you guys, but let's delete that. Let's see if I can show you this again. So start point, end point, and let's get crazy with it. Oop. I forgot to hold down. So if I press down, oh yeah, it's too steep of an angle, so I can't quite do that exact. But Control Z will get rid of that for me, and I can just restart this process. So I'll click down. I'll click down. This won't be perfect, but I'll do a few segment endpoints there. And back to my Bezier pen, I'll click it again. There. And then if I hit enter, it ends that segment again. And then I can just start again. And I don't know, let's connect that. And enter. So you'll see a few things. I kind of messed this up probably a bit. We can clean that up though. And if I just move this out, we've got this shape. And you can add some color. Let's make them green. Back to pink. And nice blush. But that's very useful. And then one other thing that I use exclusively with the Bezier pen, it's easily one of my favorite things. If you go up here into the settings, we have shape. You have triangle in or out. Very creates like a very nice shape rather than this this like structured line. Ellipse will probably give that a better look though. But as I go from here to here on this segment, and I hit enter, you'll see a monster ellipse. Let me change that color here so you can see that. And with that, it kind of looks a little weird now, but there is a very useful tool. You have these nodes to adjust it and make some changes. But what I'm a fan of here is the circle, which you can then change this. We can go from big blob to pickle to like a good looking line. And you can start making further adjustments. Like if you can imagine something like that, I mean, we can start making really good logos with lines like these. All right, so keep that in mind. Very useful tool to have. Let me just delete all these elements here real quick, and we can go to the next one. And so the next tool I really like and enjoy is going to be the brush, it's like a calligraphy brush. I just call it the brush tool, so hopefully that doesn't throw people off. But to start here, let me just kind of draw a little bit with it, and you'll start to see like, it's not bad. We're seeing like some good things here. Let me do some changes real quick, because I was a fan of this the other day. Maybe some black and red. And as we go here, oh, I did not mean to change the blur. Let's make that stroke paint black. There we go. Fill. I'll just give us some more space. Let's make, oh, the fill gave me some opacity. Alright. So let's go back down to my fill and stroke. There we go. Make that a little more solid. Alright, great. So you saw that with this one. But if we go up here, this is where you can really mess with like some of the different aspects to your calligraphy or brush strokes there. And if you're trying to maybe make a signature or just kind of something that's like a little bit more of like a hand-drawn looking shape, this is great. And if I'll just get rid of some of these. If I start playing with other features like the wiggle, wiggle kind of looks a little different. If you do tremor, this one's funny. It's gonna kind of give you that rugged look. Maybe not perfect in this sense. Like it's kind of a weird look with just all this randomness. But you can usually Use this for a lot of great scenarios. An example I like is sometimes if I want to do like a very custom like scatter or spray. I want to go back to my tool. Let's get rid of tremor. Maybe wiggle, not so much, but let's say like that. Okay. Now if I go here, if I select this and copy, and now I go to like a spray tool, this is going to be really neat because it's going to grab, yeah, it's a little big, make it a little smaller. It's going to grab like my object and start coming up with this. I probably should have made it smaller so you can get the idea, but if you're trying to come up with just a cool pattern or just like some randomness, super useful tools to play with. So that was to just recap. We had the Bezier pen, the brush pen, and the next is like freehand lines. These are not too bad. You'll notice what I did is I turned on smoothing, so it's going to make things a little cleaner for myself. But if I start playing with some other tools, there's a spiral path, or there's what we call a B-spline. And what the B-spline does is it sort of, I think it almost grabs like an average of these or something. I'll have to look at that again. But if I do a similar shape to what I did, like that, you'll notice that this Spyro sort of like mimics or follows me better. It just doesn't look as ugly as what I originally did. So if you're trying to come up with like a very pretty look in a hand-drawn look too, go ahead and do that. This is a great tool for this. And let's do one more thing that is there. And this is just to change the shape. So you saw the triangle in, which means the thickness is at the start of the triangle, and then as you kind of whip to the end, it fades. Triangle out does the opposite, actually. Use them how you please, really, but where it starts kind of low or nothing and builds to 100, basically. So that's great. The ellipse, I don't know if I'm a fan of the ellipse as much. Yeah, actually, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, depending on what you're going for. You'll just see it kind of caps at the end points there. I definitely use the ellipse tool a lot with my Bezier pen. But actually, I do kind of like how the look is in this freehand too. So that's something I'll start using in the future. And then if you make a custom shape, this is what's cool. You can do it from the clipboard. So future videos will cover some of these. Running a bit long. I don't want to keep you on this too long. So, but drop me some love if you liked it. Do that. But you definitely want to subscribe. I got some great content coming up, all totally free. I'm going to show you how I make my living at home and how you can start doing that too. And as always, thanks for stopping by. We'll chat again soon.